but that was a negative association. But
This is my stepmom's idea of a Christmas present, which comes in really handy when it's freezing. So
nice.
Hi, sorry, it's late. This is the meeting that somehow it auto records. So I think it auto records the computer. Maybe you, John, are the keeper of the recording. But whoever gets the recording when this is done, please
I don't
upload it or
know.
let me know.
Am I a host?
Okay.
Yeah, I got host tools. Guess it's me then.
Woohoo. You're the
It might also record to the cloud automatically to Google Drive somewhere. I'll look at that while we talk. Just
okay. Cool. All right, everyone, welcome. Issues, work item, the rollout. Let me know the date, January 23rd. Let's go through the work streams. Who wants to take description templates?
I can mobilize. So the backend is finished, and like part of it was already released in 17.9, but there is an API change around the as per the requirements of frontend. So what was happening here is if you are fetching templates at the group level, there may be a situation where you have multiple projects within that group having same name shared across different templates. So the API, as of now, what it does is it fetches all those templates, but if there are templates with the same name, you'll be seeing two entries in the response, but there is no information on the source of that particular template. So in order to address it, we first need to add a source of the template in the API, which means adding a new field to the API. So on front end, it was discussed on whether we are fine to show duplicates, but as per the UX requirements, we need to show a source of the templates as well. This was discussed at length, and given the multi-version compat issue, we can on front end remove the duplicates and show a union of results, but then it would take away the source of the template itself, and that's kind of a pressing point here. I also wanted to discuss it at length because in the Slack discussion, we decided that as per the legacy experience, we do want to show the source. But if we want to have this feature sooner, how do we go about it in 17.9? Because the API change cannot be consumed until 17.9.
I just want to call out we have other issues that are GA issues that are pushed to 17.10. So I'm not sure a decision needs to be made to move away from the ideal, which is grouping by the templates by group and project.
I saw that in the discussion thread. What are these issues? I couldn't find any.
I'll grab them.
Thanks.
Okay,
Oh.
sorry. Can you so the grouping the grouping aspect is the only thing that we will have to add a field for in GraphQL, or will we need to hold off until 17.10 for the front end, regardless of having grouping or not?
No, so the front-end implementation is on standby. As soon as source field is available on the API, front-end can then just group the results on the drop-down. So right now we are using placeholder data at the moment while we wait for that API change to land. So it isn't like front-end is a lot of effort. And like I mentioned, we can technically also dedupe the results and show the drop-down. But it was discussed in the thread that we don't want to do that given the legacy experience where we do show the results by group in the dropdown. So we want to be consistent rather than showing unionized results now and then again start showing sources in 17.10.
Okay, so not taking multi-version compatibility issues out, how much effort after the back end is done will it take for the front end to be complete?
I'll have to confirm with Jack, but I like based on what I've seen in pending in those issue discussions, I don't think there is a lot of effort, but I would still have to confirm with Jack.
Okay. So we can, if it's not a lot of effort, we can technically for GitLab.com get this all out still in 17.9. It's just we couldn't officially release it GA until 17.10.
And how we go about self-managed?
Yeah, exactly.
No, I mean I'm asking like how do we go about self-managed release in that case for 17.9 if the front end starts consuming the fields that we are introducing in the same version?
Yeah, so it'd be behind a feature flag and not turned on for self-managed until 17.10.
Okay. But if the feature flag is documented, then we would have to like ensure that if someone is like looking at our documentation and enabling the feature flag, then it may end up breaking the front end for them, right? Because Epix is already enabled by default for these users. I don't know whether the description templates dropdown is also visible on Epic work item types. I believe that so far we have been using work items beta flag to develop this dropdown, but it can be brought out. So we'll have to check on whether self-managed it would be safe to do something like this, what you're suggesting. So I would leave at least I'll ask the engineering, both Nasser and Jack, on how to go about self-managed scene.
Okay. Yeah, because we've done similar things to that
Yes.
behind the work items alpha, work items beta feature flags, where yeah, we've added in documentation that if you turn this on, it may break anything, especially if you're using what is it called? If you're using the issue where you could run into the multi-version compatibility if you're using that deployment strategy.
Yep.
Okay, John.
Yeah, I'm trying to understand what's blocking this going out in 1710. And now I understand that when Amanda said we have blocking issues, she meant we with the italics have blocking issues, like as in product planning. So that's why I couldn't see them when I was looking at the project management list. This project is a hard blocker to custom fields, which we all know at this point is the number one commitment that we're making in Q1. And that's bumped from Q4. So I suppose my question then is like, what do we have to do to move this forward in 17.9? And that probably requires engineering compromises, UX compromises, everything, because ultimately it's a hard blocker to custom fields. The alternative to not releasing this in 17.9 is to work on custom fields in parallel and add additional risk and stress in 17.10, which we'd ideally avoid, right? So it'd be remiss if I didn't ask, is there a path with the capacity that we have, with the kind of user experience we find acceptable, if not ideal, that we would get this out in 17.9?
So Nick, Leonard, I think we talked about what's available now, and it's just a list of duplicate templates not grouped if we shipped what we have in 17.9. So I guess that's the question for this specific item. We can always follow it in 17.10 with the grouping. So it's 30 days of exposure, basically.
Yeah, I mean, we'd want to at least dedupe, but I mean, my understanding is that's not going to be like a barrier to do that. It would just mean that users basically get the new experience, see it one way, and then like 2 weeks later, it's slightly different. That's not my biggest concern. If we need to do that, like users can still use the templates, they can still find the templates. I think that would be an acceptable trade-off if we need to make that.
Yeah, I wonder if for the duplicates, So, as my understanding is, currently they are returned in a single list and not grouped. And I wonder if we can, and on the back end, transparently to the front end, we can just change the file name, the name of the template, not to be just the file name, but include into the name to include the path as well. So I don't know if that's possible on the back end at all. I don't know if that influences anyway how we then send the request further or not, but that may be a way to try and deduplicate it to kind of make the file name include also the path of the group or project or wherever it's coming from as a single list, and then in later iteration to group them and basically have them as it used to be. But then again, I don't know if that file name, that exact value is not then used into sending a request and kind of fetching that data. So that may be the stopper there why we cannot do that.
Kushal, is that something that where did Kushal go? Oh,
Yes.
there you are. Sorry.
Yeah.
I didn't see you over screen. Is that something that you could ask backend if that's easy to pass through and it doesn't? Because
Yeah, I'll be
I
meeting Nasser later today, so I can bring it up.
okay. I think it
And
would
you
I
could,
like that solution because at least then you see where it comes from. Deduping actually I don't think they're necessarily duplicates. They're just files in different locations.
Exactly.
So
yeah.
by showing the location, then people know which am I pulling. And
They
it brings
can be
Yeah.
though. They can be because
And
if you are in the project that the templates come from, and that project is set as the group or instance source, you will actually see this. It is literally the same template in both cases. It's just showing that that's the group. It's coming both from the group and the project. It's confusing, but that is kind of how it works on
but
merge requests and legacies.
yeah, so in legacy it does show in that use case, it shows both. It just shows it grouped by where it lives. So if we
Yeah.
add the location to the file name, then it doesn't look like a bug. It could at least explain that this is the one that is currently in this area and this is the one that's in. And we can put in the docs explaining that, this will be updated.
yeah, but I think that case is not problematic because end of the day, you're getting the exact template that you want, right? Even though it was linked in one way. Like the problematic case is when you actually have a different template with the same name, and when you're clicking it, you're actually getting a different content back. So you're like confused. Why am I getting a different thing back when I know that this is the template I need to get back, but I'm getting a different thing, even though I'm clicking the right template. So I think the other case is actually one that is more problematic in that sense. And yeah, I think that's the main problem there is not really that you have duplicate names because you can click once and then click the second time. The problem is that I think that value is used to send back to the backend, and because it's not deduplicated by like the full path, then you're always like regardless of which one you select, you'll always get the same content back because there is no way to tell it. So basically, whichever it finds first, that is what you get back. But yeah, Kushal, you can tell Nasser to ping me if he needs anything to consult on that because I think I was the one that implemented it in the legacy code. So maybe I can help with something or maybe not.
So
Sure. Thanks.
sorry for being slow. Is the proposal that avoids the multi-version compatibility problem because it doesn't actually change the API, you're just changing the value that's returned? Is that right? Okay, so my next question would be then of the remaining issues after that, this is only worth doing if all of the work blocking in 17.9 is possible to accelerate. Otherwise, like we're actually just adding overhead by doing it.
Exactly.
So, sorry, Kushal, is there any way you can maybe look into that for me and let Amanda know and let us all know, like, if this is even feasible in the first place, maybe before going to Nasser and disturbing them and all that.
Yeah, because for 1710 issues that I'm looking at, which are GA issues, like some of them are around hiding certain widgets based on license type and access type. So I don't think those issues are like strictly requiring backend change that we are proposing here. Those can be achieved on front end to a certain degree. But yeah, we can like I can work with engineering to see how much of it can be pulled into 1710.
Yeah, let's do
we-
what Amanda is suggested and
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
walking
Can
through
we just
now.
walk the board real quick?
Yeah, actually, before we do that, so anyone that has updates in any of the work streams, are there any, uh, is anything in any of these work streams scheduled for 1710 and not 17.9 that we want to call out? Well, I guess we can also do that as we walk through it. Yeah, let's walk through the board and then we can get to those once we get to them on the board.
I'd recommend that we do a super fast pass at what's in 17.9. At least the things that are at risk. How much confidence do we have in these health status labels?
On project management, not. We
Okay.
don't.
Then why don't we just take a
Okay.
super fast pass
Yeah.
at everything here?
Let's
Like,
do that.
and I guess what we're looking for is if this has high confidence of not making it, what can we do to mitigate it? Or can UX say it's not needed, right? So quick action zoom, do we think that this has a high probability of not shipping in 17.9? Looks like it's blocked by something.
Yes, it has a high probability of not shipping because the backend is not in yet. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Before you talk about the technical piece, UX, is this required?
I mean, it's
I
legacy functionality. It's certainly not my highest priority, but if our goal is like legacy parity, then it would have to be.
I
It's
will
low
look it up.
utilization.
I'll look up by this how many times it's used.
All right, I'm putting a hot dog on it, which means maybe we can throw it out. So we'll come back to it after you have some data. All right, moving on. Resources widget backend, is this likely to ship or not ship?
Chip.
Ship, okay. Work items, add close reason.
Last
anybody know what this
merge
is?
request is in review, so confident that
Awesome.
it ships.
Yay. Support resolving MR thread with issue. I don't know what this is. Anybody
It's
know what that
the
is?
Yeah, in a thread on a merge request, there's a resolve with
Oh.
issue button. It will create the work item, but it doesn't actually do the thing it's supposed to do and close the or like resolve the thread and everything.
So it has
It
yeah,
ship.
go ahead. It will ship?
Yeah.
Okay. Follow up. Somebody can read that while I'll move on. Exclude archive projects when selecting destination project for work items. That doesn't seem like a high requirement. UX, can that be a hot dog?
Yeah, I mean this is the one where it creates like a weird error when you select
Yeah.
an archive project. That's kind of like the main problem with this.
But how
if-
often is somebody actually selecting like
It's a
in
really
30
small
days?
effort. We
Yeah.
don't need to spend too much time.
So it's not a hard
specifically.
blocker. Okay.
Yeah.
Submit as spam flow. It says at risk. We have an open MR and it says blocked in workflow, but I don't
Sorry,
see
can you
a
scroll up a
blocking
little bit?
issue.
What is the
Yep.
down a little bit? The MR, can you look at the
This one?
does that say 17.9 for mine, the one below it? Yeah, it
Yours
does.
is
Okay.
merged. It says 17.9.
So yeah, I don't know if because that's a backend field change, so multi-version compatibility. I'll need to look into that, but that one is at risk, I would say.
Okay. So how do you want to indicate at risk? Are you just going to remember them and look into them, or do you want me to put a label on it so you can sort for them?
I can, but also thinking like this one might be a hot dog one, just because I don't think there are a lot of users that have
All right,
the.
hot dog.
Are you okay with
Yeah.
that, Nick?
Yeah, this is like a
Okay.
weird niche thing.
Summarize. This is duo summarize business or no?
Yeah, it is. It's
Is
just
that at
without
risk?
permissions. Yes.
Yes, at risk. And is it a hot dog or do we need it?
No, we need that.
Okay, so we should put some resources on this one so far is the first one.
Well, it's the thing though
Incidents.
that adding resources won't help it because it's due to multi-version compatibility. But I think we need to talk
So-
about that separately.
Okay, let's talk about
And-
this one. Well, let's take a pause and talk about it because it's
Not so much just this one, but if there's anything else that the backend was added to the GraphQL API in 17.9, there's nothing we can do to have it GA and available for all in 17.9.
So the backend was just added in 17.9?
I believe so. I don't even know if it's in yet or if it's still in review.
Okay. So right now, the two things that we have that are a risk are summarize and work item templates. Can somebody take that note? Mark, incidents? Service
Yeah,
desk
so
issues?
Deepika's working on this new incident create workflow, and she was confident that we'll make it in 17.9. And I just have like 2 follow-ups from that, so it's still confident that it will ship.
Okay, great. Upgrade promotion. What's that?
This is
Show
the call out
features.
for
Oh,
free tier. This is
That's a
I would say
hot
this is up to
dog.
product. Like you guys can decide because from a usability perspective, that doesn't have real much impact. It's more pricing and
Gabe, do you
that growth.
disagree? I think it's a hot dog.
Yeah, I don't really care
You're
about
fine.
that.
Okay,
It
quick
matters, I
action.
suppose.
Wait, so how
But
are we
not for a
accounting
blocker.
for hot dogs and I don't know,
Hot
hamburgers?
dogs are they're hot dogs
So-
are currently are things that are indicated as GA issue, but we've decided will not be a blocker. So we can deprioritize those and put capacity on the things that are the blockers, which is the template so far and the summarize.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, but so for this one, even though it is a hot dog, I believe it requires backend field edition. So even if it wasn't a hot dog, like we couldn't get it in until 17.10.
Okay, but it's a hot dog, so we don't have to waste time on it. I mean, talking about it, right?
Is it the same? Like, is all these like hide widget? Like, is that bundled into that kind of package over?
I don't think. Are there separate issues to hide certain things?
Yeah, like in 1710 we have hide parent widget for free license, right? So like my guess is these are connected.
I think mine is no, we're not doing it together. I don't
Well,
think
I
we
don't.
bundled
I
it.
mean, is it like the same? Like whatever
Ah.
the back end changes that we need, is it the same?
Yeah, probably. If we're not already hiding it, because that means we're returning them even for free license from the back end, we will have to either put something in place of what we're returning, which is what the upgrade promotion was going to do, or figure out a way to hide it. So either way, it's gonna. I mean, if we just hide them, no. So hide, we may be able to get away with not
Without
having
front
the
end.
milestone. Yeah.
Mhm.
So no, let's not bundle
Okay.
those together.
Okay. Quick action duplicate, Alexandra.
Yeah,
Will
that's
that
in
make
review.
17.9?
Yeah, that's
Okay,
in
perfect.
review. That should make it.
Error tracking widget is not assigned.
That I'll assign it afterwards. It's Stephanos. Are you here, Stephanos?
Is that going to make it
Yeah,
in
yeah.
17.9?
I start checking on it like 2 days ago, so I cannot say. I'm trying to find actually how things are working locally in order to try to test it and see if we can make it with the work items. But yeah, I need some time to check more.
But it definitely won't make it in 17.9 because it's going to require adding it to the
Front end.
Yeah, it's going to require front end, but back end API changes.
Okay, so is
Yeah.
that a hot dog, Nick? Or is that required?
I mean that's like in the same boat as spam and things like that. It only works with an integration. I would assume it's not like super common, but I don't know
You
if we
could live
have any
without
data
it
on
for
that.
30 days. Okay, so maybe add that to the check the data, but I'm putting a hot dog. So tell me if that's wrong. Support
Wait,
promote within change. Yeah, go ahead.
Going
What do you got?
back real quick to the hide parent widget free license, looking at the blocker of that is a backend change on the API that did we mention whether we're going to pull that into 17.9 or not?
We didn't get
At least
that far.
the
We're still on this
okay.
list.
Sorry. Got it.
Sorry. It's okay. Support promote within change type. I thought
Yeah,
we
so
finished
one
this,
MR,
Kushal.
yeah. So I'm mobilizing. So one MR already got merged and is live, and second MR is in draft. But I spoke to Rajan, and we'll be able to ship it in 17.9.
Okay, perfect. Display close reason, Mark?
Yeah, that's just like the concrete issue for it for 17.9. That other one was like the umbrella issue.
Okay,
We're
so
also
that's
working
fine.
on, yeah. Hmm?
Okay. Kushal, add permission check on change type action.
Yes, this too will ship in 17.9. It is about like planner
Wonderful.
role inclusion. So yeah.
Okay. These next two are not assigned child items of work item do not inherit milestone or iteration. Oh, that seems like a problem. In legacy issue child. Oh. So we're not cascading the milestone or iteration.
And we do with legacy issues.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Nick,
That
is
one
it a
won't
hot dog?
require any. No, I think we should get it
Well,
done. Well, we'll get it assigned.
Well, let me just clarify if it's a hot dog or not, and then you can choose to do it if you want.
I mean, no, we should do this because we've established that
Okay.
pattern.
All right, so this one needs to be added to the list as a go live blocker. Whoever's taking that note. Full page button on work item description doesn't work. Oh.
Hot dog, in my
Nick?
opinion. I don't know one person that
Yeah.
uses focus mode.
Uh,
Yeah, it's just kind of a bug though, which is not ideal, but it's not mission critical, I would say. It's not gonna break anyone's workflow.
okay. Kushal, handle count of child items when they are removed, added in a work item?
Yeah, so it was a follow-up from one of the previous MRs that Rajan merged. So like still on track for 17.9.
It just says ready for development. If
Yeah, but
this is
Rajan is currently wrapping up the change type. As soon as that is done, he'll be able to pick this up.
okay. It's just that there's 2 weeks left and it hasn't started, and reviews take forever. So I just want. Let me just ask:
Yeah,
is
sure.
this required? Maybe it's not even required. This
Uh,
bug, Nick.
yeah, I'll have
Asking.
to confirm. Yeah,
No.
sorry.
I'm sorry. I'm asking Nick if it's required. Nick, this is when a child is removed or added, the count in Apollo Cache is not updated. So the change type feature fails to trigger a warning when child items are added or removed and page is not refreshed.
I mean, this would be better for Nick Brandt to speak to, just as he's closer to this feature. It doesn't seem like it would be something that is coming up all that often, but it does mean that like if you remove something, you kind of expect that to get reflected.
Yeah,
But
you know what? I did get a report of this in the last week, that they didn't get a confirmation that they added items. So it is confusing, but personally, I don't think it's a blocker. This would happen to you on issues too, though. Like if you, I don't know why this is related, but if you add or remove, you don't see the update until refresh. I feel like it's a hot dog. I'm putting hot dog. You can challenge it if
yeah,
you
I mean,
want.
this is also one that like this affects epics, right? Like probably even more acutely than issues. So, whether it's part
Epics
of GA
and
issues
yeah.
is sort of moot. Like this is already a problem
Okay.
that we have.
Right. Already exist. Add move button to work items detail view. Oh, this is the actual move function.
Hey, Nick was able to just join us. I know that we had a question
Hey,
for
Nick.
him a moment ago that we specifically called out, and I asked him to join us.
Thanks. Is he here?
Yep, I'm here.
Yeah, he just joined.
Hey, Nick, real quick, this one, handle count of items when they're removed. Do you want to take a quick look at it and I'll go on to the next one so you have time to digest it? And then I'll come back to you.
Yeah, sounds good. I'll
I'm
look it up.
putting it in the chat. All right,
We're
there
trying
you
to
go.
figure out if you want to call it a hot dog or not. And I
A
hope you
hot
know
dog
that.
means that it's not GA issues, but we need to, like, it's the very first follow after GA issues. Okay, so Fernanda's working on adding the move button. I think that is definitely a requirement, right? Move is a big deal.
So yeah, this is just the UI around move. Like we have move as a quick action, just not in the UI, but this is not at risk. It'll get done in 17.
Okay, perfect. So let's move over to 1710. Generate description. What's that? That
That's
seems
the
like
AI
a big deal.
one. It's
Oh,
the
is
AI
that the same
feature.
as that's not summer? Do we have a button for generate description, or is it just asking Duo to do it?
No, it's in the creation workflow. This one's still an experimental feature, but we've like promoted it and talked about it. So it'd be a little bit strange for anyone that's said, yes, I want experimental AI features to now lose a feature.
I mean,
Do we know the usage of it though?
it feels like a hot dog if it's not GA to me.
That feels like a huge risk given the company focus on AI to just say
True.
that we're shelving an AI feature.
Agreed.
I
All
I
right,
don't
let's
support that, but you
okay.
guys can
So let's
decide.
put generate description as a blocker. Use modal creation form from issues list.
This is related to the shifting, I believe, to the legacy issues list, where now it uses the full path. So it's different from epics, which we don't really want.
Okay. Is this a requirement?
If we can't get to it, it still works, but it's just sort of not the intended experience.
This is Nick's least favorite game of all time.
It
I'm sorry to
absolutely
put you in
is, if you
pain.
can't
I
tell.
really, I apologize. I
Wait,
hate that I'm
so
doing this to you.
These
uh,
exist because there should be requirements. That's why they're
Agreed.
GA issues.
But they asked what we can make concessions
I
on.
get it.
that one's a bug though, right?
Which one?
The modal.
No, it's not.
That's
It's just a legacy experience.
no.
Well, it's not even like it goes to the right page. It's just not the modal version of it like we have for epics.
Hasn't been updated.
Yeah, I assume that's the case. Like a week ago it worked and now it doesn't. So it seems like a bug to us, but to users, like they wouldn't really know that.
Right. All right, I put the hot dog on it. If you want to change it, let me know. Hide parent widget for free license. So this is parent widget is showing if you're free, and it shouldn't. Nothing happens if you try to use it. Why is it in 1710? It's blocked by backend, I think. Blocked by backend, which is also in 1710. So that's a problem.
What when you say nothing happens, what does that actually mean? Like like nothing shows up in the list, or is there?
Yeah, nothing shows up in the list when you select the parent. Like it's just it doesn't show you any values. Like this is empty. And I can show if we have time remaining in staging.
Okay.
Let me see if it's in here. Is there yeah, here. Oh, that's what we're saying it should be. I'll show you in staging after this.
I think the
All right,
back
so
end
I
and
think
front end can be done at the same time on something like this, though.
okay.
Because it's like a belt and breeches approach. Like you hide it on the front end and you also adjust the policy on the back end, I think.
Mm-hmm.
It depends on how we, it depends on how we handle that.
Yeah, I don't think, John, it would be possible for this particular one. I had a conversation with Anastasia, and we don't have the policy present required to hide the widget in case of free tier because we don't go by the license type check, right? We go by the policy type check, and this particular policy was missing. The problem is that we returned hierarchy widget in response, regardless of what the license type is, because we also use the same widget for breadcrumb that we show on the top of the page. So breadcrumb needs to remain, except that user shouldn't be able to edit the parent if they are on the free tier. And that's where
This
we
is what
need
it
the
looks like.
policy exposed. Yes.
Okay, yeah. So for this one specifically, it's going to be more similar to the promote because we're going to have to, we can't just hide it on the back end. We have to send something new from the back end that says this is a free user, we shouldn't be showing it, or we should show a promotion instead.
So can these be handled together, or they just need to collaborate, or neither?
Collaborate, but not together because they're
Okay, I linked them. Kushal, I'm assuming it's the back end for Eugenia is in 17.10 because we don't have capacity in 17.9. Is that right? Could we
Yes, but
ask Eugenia
I can ask
pause?
to see if we can pull it into 17.9.
Okay, perfect. Do we think we could get it done in 17.9, or is this a risk that we feel like is not going to happen?
Yeah, I would have to ask if the developer would be able to
Okay.
take it up. Yep.
Can somebody record this then as a risk?
Yeah, I will. So even if we move the back end to 17.9, like the front end can't be done until 17.10. So
So it's definitely a risk.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's
okay.
If we don't do it till 17.10, we can't do the front end until 17.11, right?
Right, yeah. Right. So backend has to ship in 17.9.
Yes. So that's
and
has
if you were looking for for outs on this, this wouldn't block internal testing, for example, because we don't use free, we use Ultimate internally. So I mean, if you were looking for a silver lining, we could still go ahead with a full internal rollout.
Yeah, I mean the experience isn't it's not like awesome to have a feature that just doesn't work, but it's not broken. I'd be more concerned if it let you pick something and then it was just oops, but there's just no parents there, so it's not entirely clear why, but it's I wouldn't consider this as big of a blocker as some other things if we need to hot dog it.
Can we roll out to premium and ultimate first? I heard him say hot dog, so I'm adding it. But I'm still asking that question.
That would probably be challenging from a documentation and how we communicate that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Link.
Wait,
oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Sorry. If we would ship both of these things in the same milestone, as in the back end and the front end, so even then you would only have the experience for the duration of the upgrade. So for most instances, that's going to be very short. For the largest instances, it may be a day, I guess, but we do have a zero downtime guarantee, I guess. On the other hand, Nick, if you were comfortable releasing this for an entire milestone, then the multi-version compatibility issue isn't really an issue here because it would be literally just for the duration of the upgrade.
Yeah, I mean I think we can live with that. It's like I said, it's not broken. It just means that for free users, they're gonna see something that is huh, what's that? It's not gonna do anything, and then it'll disappear at some point.
Yeah.
I mean, but that's the case with every one of these dependencies that we're marking, where it's none of them are going to be a blocker to internal rollouts because there's nothing stopping us from doing the front end in the same milestone outside of self-managed.
Yeah, I don't know how many self-managed we have that do rolling deploys, that this will be an issue. So
We have never gotten a report outside of our own thing.
I think we did, but it's like one or maybe two customers overall. Like one of these large self-managed customers, banks or I don't know, finance or whatever who they are, that they are doing a very similar rolling deploys where they have a couple instances running where, well, not instances, but servers where you deploy to multiple servers. So that's the only case when this issue appears, is that you have some servers on the old version running and some servers on the new version on the backend side. So then one of these servers is kind of trying to access the API on the other side and it's not compatible. That's the whole issue. But I don't know how many we have and how we can
we
give them a
specifically
heads up or something.
we specifically had an issue where there were CI tokens we changed the way they were generated, and that caused significant data loss and a serious incident. And then after that, there's just the macro issue of if you have every group in the company releasing things that don't break, but just look bad and work badly, like when people are doing an upgrade, it just creates a horrible experience. The point I was making about this one is that like we can still test internally because we use Ultimate. Um, so it doesn't apply to us. The customers who would see the problem are free tier users. So that was my point about testing it internally. But it is true, like anything we have both sides deployed. We can test internally anyway.
Yeah, that wouldn't block external testing either. I mean, just because it's just a field that they won't use for anything, and then if they open a task, it will actually be useful. So maybe they can kind of figure it out. And if we get feedback that's like there's this weird parent field and it doesn't have anything in it, then we know what that means.
So it's hot dogged, right? Essentially.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Okay. Let's keep going because we want to go back to the list of the blockers, see if there's anything we can do or move. Allow links from work items to incidents. Nick, hot dog, not hot dog. Hasn't been assigned, currently scheduled for milestone 1710.
Yeah, I mean, this one's just, I don't know how common this is, but it's like a broken workflow where like today you can create this link and then it doesn't like obviously work in the current state.
Gabe, do you have metrics on this that we could look at? How frequently this is used? And another question, Nick, do you know if it works from the other direction? Like, could you from a incident link to an issue as a workaround?
I believe you can.
Okay, so there's a
I would have to
workaround.
double check, but I believe that works fine because that's going to be the legacy widget.
Yeah. Gabe,
I'm looking
do
real
you want to
quick.
look at
I don't know
metrics?
if we separate incidents specifically from issues when we count links, but I'm looking at the list right now. Stand by. I'll post in the
Okay,
chat if
so
I
I'll come
find
back to
something.
that one. Removing the placeholder for templates, that's going to happen. This is part of the template thing, so we can move on. It's already a blocker. Kushal, do you know what this is? Can edit parent check.
It is related to the front end item we saw above the list assigned to Anastasia.
We already talked about. Oh, the hide. Oh, thank you very much. And then coming back to Nick Brandt on the handle count of child items when they're removed.
Yeah, just so I understand this correctly, it's if you add a child and then you go to change type, we're not showing a warning and they're able to change the type and they would essentially lose the children that they've added. Is that the scenario?
I don't know. I didn't play with this.
No,
I
so it
think
is
I just
related to the
created
count
it.
of items that users see on top of child items widget. Because if you change the type, like the things may have been removed from the children list, right? In case the type is not eligible to be the child of a given parent type. And in that case, whatever roll-up count that user sees on child items widget is outdated. And only way to see it is to reload the page and have the updated count fetched.
Okay, the description talks about not seeing a warning here, which
Yeah, that's what I saw, the warning business. Well, maybe it's both because I'm watching this little video and I see no warning. He just changed the type.
he reloaded and
The
then he
task
goes
is
to
still
change.
there. Does not support. I don't understand this issue. Kushal, could you look into it more and let us know
Yep.
and tag me and Nick on it? Is that cool, Nick? And we'll go from there.
Yeah, I mean, based off of, I think either scenario, like the count not being completely reflective or the warning not showing,
Uh-huh.
I think that it's probably not a GA blocker. It's not ideal, but I wouldn't see this as necessarily blocking a release. It's something that we'd want to address ASAP, but not blocking.
All right, perfect. Thank you very much. So that one we added a hot dog, and then you were going to come back to us, Gabe, with metrics on something, and I forgot what it was.
Zoom quick action. Yeah, that's
Yeah, thank you.
I put it in the thing. I think it happens 45 to 70 times a month across GitLab.com and self-managed, which is low. But
So
it's
hot
still
dog?
it's a risk pissing a couple
Okay,
people
so
off, but I think it's worth it if we can do it.
the trade-off is delaying the release.
I don't think it's worth delaying the release for that few people.
Okay. Hot
We can
dog.
just say it's
So
a bug
then,
for a milestone.
okay, and then the last one is, do you have any metrics on linking incidents to work
Yeah,
items?
I added that to the chat. 560 to 740 times a month. The metric is
Tired.
incident relate. And I'm assuming you can only relate incidents to issues. Probably should confirm that, but it's still about 560, 740 times per month.
It's back end only, which is good, right? I think. So are we making this a blocker?
It's a little bit higher. What do you think, Nick, Leonard?
I mean, this one's like not great just because we present it as though it will work and then it doesn't. So it's confusing. But it is like the number of incidents is relatively small. The number of times somebody's going to select an incident is relatively small. If we have to pick things to push off, like I would probably hot dog this one in favor of some of the other things that'll come up more often.
All right, thank you very much. We got through the whole list. Whoever was recording all of the blockers, can you share your screen and show us that list? And then can we go through that to see if there's any possible way to bring those things into 17.9?
Oh, John, thanks.
We have 3 minutes, but I'm
tried.
happy to go late.
As far as I can see, anything that wasn't hot dogged was basically summarized work item templates and this one about inheriting time boxes.
Oh, we did this in a couple places. Scroll down to number 3, top level number 3. There's a couple more in there.
Top level number 3.
Yeah, that's. Oh, why is that 2?
Oh yeah. Oh.
Have a-
Okay, cool.
Nice.
Here's the exact same thing, but with extra stuff. I guess you noted this then, Donald, right?
No,
Oh,
you
okay.
did.
I was
Just
typing
keep
stuff
driving.
down
Yeah,
there.
we all did.
I don't
But-
think it matters. Hiding the parent widget on free, I think we decide was a hot dog because it's free and it's there. Okay. So
Done.
I think these are those. So templates, did we decide that? I think Nick said that was okay to launch with just the duplicated list with no grouping. Was that true, Nick?
Yeah, I mean, I would say ideally without having like just the literal same item duped. Like it would be annoying to see a list that's like bug, bug, bug because it's the group template and the project template. But yeah, we can.
But could it? Because we'd have to invest more backend to dedupe or more capacity to dedupe rather than working on this list.
I guess. I mean, it's gonna feel kind of buggy, but it's usable, so we can.
Real quick, can we talk about so when going to GA, that means without the toggle or anything, right? So essentially users won't have an out. So if we don't support something that they have with legacy issues, they won't be able to use it essentially once we say we're GA. Sorry, was that confusing in how I said that?
Yeah, maybe restate.
Are we keeping the toggle beyond 17.9?
The new issues toggle?
Yeah.
Gabe, how long do you want the new issues toggle in place?
Until we stop getting tons of feedback about stuff that may or may not be working correctly. So TBD, but as short as possible as well. I mean, if we want to do work item issues GA and 17.9, then a couple weeks at a minimum.
Okay.
So remove in 17.10?
Well, we technically have to remove it in 17.9 if we're going GA in 17.9, right?
I think it falls into the beta definition to have a toggle. which might be okay if you want to change the commitment to that.
In 17.9.
I think the definition of beta is you have a toggle, so you have an opt-in, opt-out, and I can't remember whether it's defaulted on or not. And then the other recommendation or not requirement is a feedback issue.
So we
So
can
you
make
would
that call if we want to do beta in 17.9 and GA in 17.10. It's fine. We also like roll it out internally, this week or first thing Monday. The cutoff for 17.9 is what I guess the Friday
Yeah, like
before
3
the third
weeks.
Thursday.
Yeah.
Gosh, these date things are awful.
used to be so much easier. Okay, well, look, I mean, it'd be a shame to lose the sense of urgency that we just built up. Like, so if we could keep that going, like from my perspective, at the higher level, I just want to make sure that like we're pressing it forward and giving ourselves more time to focus on custom fields for 1710 and 1711 and not to end up like in 1711 trying to squeeze in fit and finish, and get it out the door. So from my
The code
perspective,
freeze is the 14th, so if we could remove the toggle by then, the ideal. Pending any huge bugs that we find.
14th of February.
Yeah.
By that stage, we'll have feedback from the focus group as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, we'll have internal and some external feedback, and like we should get a sense, I would think, relatively quickly from the internal cohort, like whether there's very visible bugs, and then it'll be kind of figuring out where some of the more edge case problems might be that might take a little bit longer, but do we have an issue to remove the toggle? So we'll need that to be accounted for too.
I'll create one.
Yeah, we can either create a new one or we have that rollout issue that we've been kind of using for the management of the toggle.
Yeah, let's just reuse that. I'll add it to 17.9 and
Okay, let's skip over templates because I'm finding out what the current state is. Can we talk about the Duo stuff, the summarize and generate description? Is there anything that can be done for accelerating that to 17.9 or no?
Not for GA.
So what does that mean? I think, Gabe, do you make that decision as the product DRI? Whether GA goes with or without it?
yeah, and I think it probably would go without. We'd have to have it based on what we said earlier with the company focus on AI.
Okay, so I think we just answered the question. There's no way we can go in 17.9, right? We should continue the urgency so we could at least go in 17.10. So I guess the next question is what can we do to ensure summarize and generate description make 17.10?
Is the backend or whatever needed for the AI stuff ready, or do we still need to implement that? Because I'm wondering if we can somehow move it into a patch release. Would that help? Like, can we patch the 17.8 for that purpose that we speed up? I don't know. It's unorthodox and all that, but I'm just thinking out of the box. If we had the MR ready, we could ask to patch the 17.8, so it kind of went into last release, so we can go with 17.9 and so on. But I don't know.
So the problem with Summarize last I checked, which was the last week, is that the team, I can't remember which team did it, was refactoring the issue in Epic readers, and the idea was to create a generic work item reader. And the work item support for URLs was just added to the Epic reader. So if we have summarize on all work item types, it still will only work for epics and issue type work items. And I don't know if it won't work for tasks. So basically what has to happen, it's not hard. Like the reader is, I could probably do it because it's just like text of saying like, here's the things to read. But what needs to happen is a generic work item reader has to be created with summarization.
Yeah, I don't think that's the problem. That can go into 17.9 and work right away. I think we were stating, and I didn't look in it, I think the problem was that we need to expose some field, and there is the front end, back end compatibility stuff where we need two releases. Adding another reader is not the problem. We can do it in 17.9. It should not be all that difficult. The problem is, do we really need to have that? Like, what's the mismatch in the API, if you will? I don't know. I can try and take a look and get back to you all.
No,
Or maybe if someone
Alexandru,
already did.
you're exactly right there. It's permission related. We didn't have the can summarize past and user permissions object in the work items GraphQL API. So that needs to be added or needed to be added.
Can we default to can? Would that be a problem? Like, can we default to just yes, like hard coded in the front end, right? And worst case that happens, it will send a request and I don't know, get nothing back or fall somewhere on the back end. Like, what's the worst case scenario?
Well, there would be a button and do a chat wouldn't open is I think a thing. That's it.
Okay.
Yeah, so for this one, maybe there is a workaround we can do on the front end. It's throwaway code, but we can check user permissions on the legacy issue and either render the button or don't render the button, depending on that. Again, it's a legacy piece that we would have to maintain and keep track of for another milestone just for this date, essentially, just to hit this date.
All right, do we want to talk about the last one? The not inheriting time boxes? Anything that we could do to ensure that ships in 1710?
Which one is that?
This one, children aren't getting the milestone and iteration. Tasks aren't getting issue, milestone, and iteration.
Is that on creation or is it like
It's when you're using child items. So like today, if you're on a legacy issue, you create and you have a milestone or an iteration set, and then you create a task. The task gets the milestone or iteration from the issue. But if you're in a work item issue, that doesn't happen.
Okay. And that is being set only on creation, right? If I change it on the issue afterwards, it doesn't.
Yeah. We don't have any of this. Like we've talked about the syncing stuff. None of that happens today. We don't need that for GA.
Oh, okay.
Only like the point of creation.
So I guess that's backend only, right? That should not have anything to do with the front end whatsoever. So upon creation, we can set it to whatever its parent time boxes are set to. So that should be able to be delivered in 17.9.
Yeah, and it's scheduled in 17.9. We just need to move it forward. We just need to get it assigned.
Okay.
It's labeled as
Yeah,
front
no
end,
assigning.
not back end.
Mm-hmm.
Well, then we
wonder
should relabel
why.
it, I guess.
I relabeled it.
Okay.
Thank you.
As long as we're sure. Like, who created it? Oh, Nick Leonard created it, and
Yeah.
nobody's reviewed it on the engineering side, maybe. So, yeah, okay, maybe it's cool.
So
No,
to
Donald, you labeled
summarize-
it front end.
Okay.
Do you want to
Did I?
object? Yeah, just in case you labeled it for a reason, like front end. Like, do you want to object to it being relabeled?
I should have put a reason why I did that.
It could be that maybe previously it pre-populated the input for the milestone into whatever it was from the parent. So then you need a little bit of front end, right? Like, I don't know. Actually, creation of the task is just one liner, right? It's
Yeah,
not
there is
a
nothing
full.
to pre-populate. It's just
Okay.
literally one line.
So then it's backend all of it.
Well, you could do it by injecting, right? You could inject milestone and iteration when creating the task into
I mean,
Oh
we're
yeah,
already
I
doing
think that's
this
what we do
for legacy,
before.
right?
Yeah, so when we create the task, we just need to add another argument with the iteration of the parent. That's why I put it all front end. I think it is all. I think we could do it on the front end.
What do you have more capacity for? Well, that's how engineering decisions are made, right? Like, no, I'm joking.
Well, because like we're not going. I, I don't know. I don't know what we send to the back end from the front end. I guess we do if we link the parent to it. We know what the iteration is.
Let me take a look and I will come back to you tomorrow about this. Okay, Donald?
Yes, please.
I think it must have been front end on the legacy, because if it was on the back end, then it should have kept doing whatever it was doing, is my thinking. Because we are reusing the exactly same code, it's just extending it a little bit for the work items. But I'm assuming then front end was sending and now it's not sending the parameters anymore. But we could do that on the back end altogether for the legacy and this one as well. Just saying.
It kind of feels like something that the front end should do, in my opinion. Like, you give more freedom to the front end to make business logic
Yes.
decisions and let the back end just sort of be agnostic.
True.
Yeah, I agree. All right, so keep it as is, keep it front end, and we do have the capacity in project management on the front end to take it in 17.9, so I don't think this one has to be at risk.
Okay, so moving it back to front end, yeah?
Please.
Okay, done. So to recap, we cannot launch in 17.9. We have a list of to-dos for engineering managers to move the things forward that are dependent for 17.10. Is anybody unclear about anything or need any follow-ups?
Summarize, and so the AI stuff, do we have that scheduled
Yeah.
in 17.9 or 17.10?
And can it ship in those milestones?
So it can't unless we separate. Well, we would have to separate out front end and back end there. So back end can ship in 17.9, but front end would have to wait until 17.10 to ship. But we don't want to wait until 17.10 to actually do the work on the front end
Right.
for those.
Right. The goal is to get these blockers to ship in 17.10. So I think we probably need to know if that's not possible as soon as possible, because that's 17.11.
Yeah.
Can we commit to getting those answers today?
Wait, sorry. What's the question?
For summarize and for what's the other one? Description.
Generate description, yeah.
Yeah, that one. Can we commit to looking into whether we can have a high confidence, 90% or more, that they will ship in 17.10 today? So we have a
I
technical
can answer
plan
that now. Yeah,
ensures
we
that they'll
have.
ship. Okay, you do for both of those.
Yeah, I'm 90%,
Okay.
more than 90% confident they can.
Okay. And we already discussed templates. Those are definite to ship in 17.10. And the last one was the child business that we just discussed. That's front end, and that seemed like small potatoes. So that should have high confidence shipping 17.10.
Yeah.
Okay, so who owns the rollout plan that can update that this is a 17.10 rollout, and then everything leading up to it that needs to be updated?
So me, Gabe, and Nick, we have a meeting this afternoon. We will take care of that and talk about if we want to, uh, keep just have 17.9 be a beta, switch that to beta, and then 17.10 be GA. So we can just keep the toggle until 17.10.
All right, we have 2 weeks, I think, until this milestone closes for coding. Should we meet before next week? Is there any need to meet with greater urgency? Or are we good with just the next meeting being next week? Like, is there anything that we really feel like is in danger of not shipping in 17.9 that has to ship in 17.9 in order to meet 17.10? And in that case, more pressure and visibility.
I think we can make that decision if we deem it necessary, like in the next couple days, if things start getting really behind, then we can call like a last
Then you'll
minute
call
meeting.
it.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I think for now we'll just go with the plan of chatting next week and getting status updates on
Is it
everything in 17.9.
reasonable to try and get assignees for every single like blocking issue at this point, relatively quickly, and then like for the engineer managers in the room, like if you have to move people off stuff and you need to have conversations with product managers like about what to deprioritize to make it happen, that we have some forum then, like Donald was saying, like you can just reach out at that point and create a touch point. Like for me, like until we have people assigned and we know what we have to make trade-offs somewhere and what they are, like that would be like the highest priority for me at this point, is to get an idea of like everything individually looks okay. I wonder what it looks like as a whole for each team with the capacity you have.
And knowing that if you need to pull capacity, we should pull them from the hot dogs. Well, anything that's not GA issues, then the hot dogs.
And also like put it towards the process constraints, which is something like we know that we miss a lot, is that actually we have the capacity, but we run into a process constraint like multi-version compatibility, and it needs that extra little bit of proactivity. So yeah, like deprioritizing the hot dogs. So I have to ask you like at some point like where that emoji came from and what the relationship is, but that's for another time. Um, like deprioritizing the hot dogs and then also like putting extra priority on the process blockers. So primarily like sounds like permissions changes, API changes, anything that absolutely has to quite in 17.9.
I think I can like drop some of the move and clone work on the work item side since we moved it to the legacy for now, and pick up something else. So I'd have duplicate and I don't know what else on my plate, and then I can pick up something from whatever other priorities are.
John, are you just watching my mouth? You knew I was muted before I did.
I saw you launch into something and then oh no, you're muted. But
I
you'd
was
already
then.
lost Alexander.
I
Sorry.
know. I was so launched that Zoom warned me that I was muted. What was I going to say? So to your point, John, around the and Alexandru, I don't know if there's anything that is unassigned on the back end that we need to shift what you're working on to stuff, but I will definitely take a look at it and keep that in mind. Um, and then, John, to your point, I don't think there's anything that is not already scheduled in 17.9 and not hot dogged that would require us to get in to 17.9 for multi-version compatibility issues.
Great. Yeah. Thanks.
Okay, should we call it?
Yeah,
This
please
was
let me know if there's anything I can help with. Sorry.
no worries. This was excellent. Like we should use the board more often. And I think it was Mark you mentioned in the comments, like it's a real incentive, like to keep workflow labels and health status and everything really up to date. Like so we could like maybe reach out to people and let them. I don't know if people know that when they attach these labels that like we're all sitting in a meeting going like analyzing them and everything. Like so might be worth just letting people know again that this is really important and it becomes really difficult to track if we don't have those.
Yeah, especially now with tasks on boards. It's definitely, there was a period of time where they weren't on boards, and then it was kind of hard to use boards to to refine milestones and give updates like we are. So yeah, I agree. We should use the workflow labels and boards more often. Okay.
And health
I gotta
status.
hop.
And health status.
Yeah. Good call.
See ya.
All right. Bye.
Yeah.
Bye.